This message is for the overcomers. One of the things that I don't think people have really seen or understood clearly in the apocalypse, the revealing of Iesous Christos, Jesus Christ, is the intimacy of God and man, and the invitation of God, and the wedding supper, come to the feast. And the invitation you're going to see in this message to the heavenly realms, to heaven, to paradise. And within all these messages, guys, on the measuring the temple and all the things regarding the temple is like the restoration of things back to the Garden of Eden. And throughout the book of Revelation, there are various things we've described to you like court settings, okay? So the temple is opened in heaven, and people are seen in heaven. Doors are open, okay? Things happen. And I was studying Revelation 11 with the previous video that you could see, and I saw something extraordinary, and I realized, okay, this is just happening too many times in the book of Revelation. I have to put together a video and share this again with the overcomers. Many of you will not be able to hear the things I'm saying. So Revelation 11:1, there was given unto me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel said, Rise, measure the temple of God. Okay, measure the altar. Now, in order to measure the temple, you need to know the location of the altar. The altar is the center point, okay? And worship therein. So I was studying this in the Greek, as you can see in many of the videos. We go back to the original language. And it does not say those that worship therein. That part is not there. It says in Greek, worship and in. So what it really says is measure the temple, measure the altar, and worship therein. Okay? So in measuring the temple, once you measure the temple, you enter it. Okay? And that's, of course, what we see throughout the book of Ezekiel, chapters 40 through 48. Now, another example of this is Revelation 21:17. And he measured the wall of New Jerusalem, 144 cubits, according to the metron, measure of a man. Okay? And the number of man is 6, and we know there are 6 cubits in a reed. Okay? So even the place where I am, in Cyprus, in the mountains, there's a stream outside, and I was walking the stream, and I saw a reed. Let me show you that. Revelation 11, there was given unto me a reed like unto a rod. And the angel said to me, Rise, measure the temple, measure the altar, and worship therein. That's the invitation to enter the temple, to go inside, to worship, to be intimate with God. And so earlier in the day, I was reading these verses in Revelation 11:1. It was given unto me a reed like in the rod, and it said, measure the temple, the altar, and worship therein. Go. Okay? That was amazing to me. So now let's look at all the invitations to go, to enter. And as we do, I want you to keep something in mind. Most of you come from, various segments of Christianity where you've been heavily indoctrinated with the idea of, you're a Christian, you die, you go to heaven, or, that type of thing. And that's fine, that's true. However, when we enter the apocalypse, when we enter the Lord Jesus Christ, his return, many people won't die. Okay? Many people will enter the judgment day, okay, alive. So now what that means is they're alive. So the things that would normally happen to you throughout the course of your life, when you die, okay, and your spirit, leaves your body, all right, instead of you dying, your spirit leaving your body, once you enter these last days, instead of that, the people are alive, okay? And judgment comes. That's why you have a mark of the beast, because those that are destined to the lake of fire, they're alive, okay? But if they had died previously to this, then that would have been the destination of their souls, okay? And those that are written in the Lamb's Book of Life, they're alive, okay? They're alive unto the coming of the Lord. So it's a judgment day that you enter alive. So the promises are not for when you die in the apocalypse, because you're alive. And this is the generation that has the opportunity to not die, okay? Or to give our lives a living sacrifice unto him. So as we look at the promises to the 7 churches, Revelation 2:7, to him that overcomes, I will grant to eat the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise of God. So most of you hear that and you think, oh, okay, well, if I do a good job in my life on earth, I die, I go to heaven. And heaven is paradise, right? No, this means if you're an overcomer and you're still alive, you go to paradise now, okay? And you enter heaven now, not when you die. That's the whole thing we're going to show you throughout all this. Revelation 3:12, to him that overcomes, I'll make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he won't go out anymore. So there's people now that are pillars in the temple that are alive on the earth. They're not just dead, okay? Revelation 3:12, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in and sup with him and he with me. So what does this mean? You can see on this table we have these 2 cups. We're going to talk about this later. This supping, this meeting with the Lord every day. Where? In paradise. These are the promises to the overcomers. To those of you that overcome, and you will listen, you will see that these are promises you enter now. So right after that verse, we saw a door, right? Behold, I stand at the door and knock. Then what happens? With these things I look, and behold, a door was open in heaven. And the first voice which I heard as a trumpet talking to me said, come up hither, I will show you things which must come in hereafter. And immediately I was in the Spirit. Okay? And so we can see various things that are happening in the Spirit. The Apostle Paul was carried away to this very paradise that we saw in the Spirit. He said he didn't know if he was in body or out of body, but he was what? Harpazo. And he didn't even detail the things he saw. He said they are too far beyond description in the third heaven, right? Well, we can see this throughout the book of Revelation. The Apostle John is in the Spirit seeing all these things. So in the last days, in order for you to understand the book of Revelation, you must be in the Spirit, okay? In the Spirit, Revelation 1:10, I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day. Behold, I heard a great voice of a trumpet. And that's the Lord. His voice is as a trumpet, heralding, calling us for assembly. So let's go through the book of Revelation and look at various things that are talking about this open heaven, this open temple. Revelation 6, in heaven, the heavens were severed. They were removed as a scroll in the 6th seal. And they were rolled about together. So it's like a scroll that's opened up. So that means that in the 6th seal, the heavens are opened up. So all these things about the throne, the people are around the throne. Revelation 7, therefore they are before the throne of God and serve him day and night in the temple. And he sits on the throne that dwells therein. Okay? This is the whole temple is being open, guys. So as we measure the temple, as we have this rod, we have this coming down, the temple coming down. And the temple of God was open in heaven, and there was seen in the temple the ark of the covenant. That's Revelation 11:19. Revelation 12:5. She brought forth a man-child who was to rule the nations with a rod. Okay, John had that same rod, like a reed. Revelation 11. And her child was caught up, harpazo, unto God and to his throne. That's happened. Okay? In the way, there's a war in heaven. Okay? There's a war going on right now. Michael and his angels, the devil and his angels. And they overcome him, the devil, the accuser of the brethren, by what? The blood of the Lamb and the word of his testimony. And they love not their lives unto death. Therefore rejoice, O you heavens, and you that dwell therein. Okay, so the people that were opposite to the throne are in heaven. Okay, already. And that's already happened. And you say, Leland, that hasn't happened to me. Accept the invitation. That's all I can say. Revelation 14. I looked and behold, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having the Father's name on their foreheads. Okay, so they got the Father's name on their foreheads, and then what do you have? I heard a voice. Whose voice? Father's voice. From heaven. His booming voice, right? A voice of many waters, a voice of great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers, harping with their harps. And they sang, as it were, a new song before the throne, before the four living creatures and the elders. And no one could learn that song but the 144,000, which were redeemed from the earth. Okay, Revelation 15. And when we worship on the sea of glass, the heavens are opened. Okay, Revelation 15:12. I saw where the sea of glass mingled with fire. And those that had gotten victory over the beast stand on the sea of glass, having harps of God, and they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb. Then, verse 5, I looked, and behold, the temple and the tabernacle of the testimony was opened in heaven. You see, there's order to these things. When you worship, when you can see, I was many videos in a cave on the sea, with a guitar, worshiping. All right, and then the heavens are open. Now, other promises here. And listen to this very closely. Hebrews 11, verse 13. And our forefathers, they confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims in the earth. For they say, which they plainly seek a country, for truly had they remembered. Okay, had they remembered. Remembered what? Remembered where they came from. Where'd they come from? They came from heaven. Had they remembered the country from where they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. So where did they come from? Heaven. Had they remembered where they came from, they would have opportunity to what? Return. To where? Heaven. Not when you're just dead, okay? These are promises while we're alive. 1 Timothy 3:15, that you may know how you must return to the house of God. Now this bears some research, because this word in Greek, in many of your translations will say how you ought to behave yourself in the church, right? That's not what it says. That word in Greek means to return. So listen to this. That you might know how you must return to the house of God, which is the church or the ecclesia of the living God. So the temple is the church of God, right? And you must return. The pillar, the ground of truth. Without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was made manifest in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world, and received up into glory. Okay? So, with these things, guys, how do we enter paradise? How do we enter heaven? You can see I have a table here. I have 2 cups, and I'm not going to go into all the detail of this, but this is a simple way of you having coffee with Yahweh. Going back to the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve met with God every day in the garden. So how do we relate that to the physical world? Set up a chair, okay, for the Most High. Set up a coffee cup, okay. Pour him a cup of coffee. Whatever time of day it is, do this every day. Treat him like a person. Guys, let's get away from all this religion and all these rules. Treat him like a person and just talk to him. Ask him what he thinks. Shut up, okay? we talk too much. We want to ask God all these questions. Instead of asking all the questions about or talking about so much, just ask him how he is. What does he think? Develop your ear to hear the still small voice. That's what's most important. Okay? And for many people, I've been teaching this for 6 years. They will see him. Okay? So what happens is you develop your ear, his sheep hear his voice. You develop your spiritual eyes. You begin to see in the spirit. You begin to see him. Okay? Now we have a couple other videos on that called The Father's Desire and intimacy with the Lord, which I'll put links in the description field. But guys, that's the promise of the apocalypse, that we would enter the temple in heaven now.